during our any exam preparation, whenever the exams are very much near to us, so we start feeling stress. And what exactly happens is, आजकल many of the classes, even yesterday 9 p.m. session, today 6 a.m. session, in many of the sessions, what we hear is many of the people would be asking many of the questions. Even इस class में भी काफ़ी लोग का, whenever you are opening it for Q&A, that is question and answer session, people are usually talking about the stress. And yesterday one of the students asked a very good question, and that was that he talked about the peaking curve, or he talked about the performance curve. Now actually in academics usually we don't much talk about the performance curve. ये पूरा concept usually sports में use होता है, लेकिन अगर ध्यान से देखें तो it was a very valid question, and actually I wanted to address that question in this session today. So yesterday one of the student, I don't recall the name exactly, at in the 9 p.m. session asked me that how can we time our performance peak for any D-Day. Let's say I'm preparing for an exam, let's say GMAT or a CAT or a CUT, SAT, any exams, और मान लेते हैं कि वो exam 3 months away है या 4 months away है. How can we time our performance peak? Now there are many questions which is related to it, which I would like to ask each and every question, every student in this class. अब इतने सारे बच्चे हैं तो मैं कुछ क्वेश्चन आपसे पूछना चाहता हूँ, सो दैट एटलीस्ट हम एक वार्म अप करें एक सेशन के लिए. तो पहला इम्पॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चन है जो उस बच्चे ने पूछा, क्या हम परफॉर्मेंस को क्या पीक कर सकते हैं? कैन वी टाइम आवर परफॉर्मेंस पीक? नंबर 2, इज देयर एनीथिंग लाइक परफॉर्मेंस पीक कर्व? हमारा ऐसा कुछ होता है कि क्या हमारा परफॉर्मेंस, चाहे हम फुली प्रिपेयर्ड हों, एक टाइम पे हम वी आर परफॉर्मिंग वेरी वेल एंड एट द अदर टाइम वी आर नॉट परफॉर्मिंग सो मच वेल. द पीपल हु हैव गिवन मार्क्स फुल एंड टेस्ट, एंड रादर अगर आप इंडिया में हैं तो आप काफ़ी टेस्ट दे चुके होंगे. तो ऑब्वियसली आई डोंट थिंक एनीवन इन दिस क्लास is in any way not knowing what is stress. So जैसे जैसे एग्ज़ाम्स पास आते हैं तो ये कुछ क्वेश्चंस हैं which I would like to put before starting this today's session. For example, let's say हम काफ़ी बार बच्चों से सुनते हैं कि अगर सर 1 हफ्ता 2 हफ्ता ज़्यादा मिल जाता तो I would have performed very well. The point they are saying is, if you got let's say fortnight or a 10 days more or a 7 days more, we could have performed much better. Number 2, even when we are going for mocks and everything, we hear it very often with the students कि sir, I was not at my peak in this mock. तो ये mock अच्छा नहीं है, या this mock I was not at my peak. लेकिन इस mock में I was at my peak and I was performing very well. इवन हम स्पोर्ट्स में सुनते हैं कि these days विराट कोहली और सचिन तेंदुलकर is not in their form, as we say it. The same thing actually in academic, even the same concept runs. So इस सेशन में हम क्या क्या मेजर कॉन्सेप्ट को देखेंगे कि how we can time our performance. एंड अगर बच्चों को कुछ क्वेश्चन पूछना है तो प्लीज़ पुट करिए which is related to the topic in this session. Yes, that's a very good question one of the student has asked. The question the student is asking is, why do different students peak at a different times? I mean to say, अगर हम mock performance भी देखते हैं, even if I'll just take the history of mock performance of the past people who have done very well or not done very well, what we see is they are peaking at some people peak at the right time, and some people peak at maybe month before, or they say that if we could have got more than 30 days, we could have performed much better. Any other question which bachas can put? Yes, can we time our peak performance? Obviously I'm going to address it. Any other question? Oh yes, this is also a very valid question. The question is, Why many students see performance dropping close to the D-Day? So एक बच्चे ने पूछा है कि हम इतनी बार देखते हैं और इवन अपनी हिस्ट्री में भी देखते हैं कि मैनी तो टाइम्स जब D-Day पास आने लगता है हमारी मॉक परफॉर्मेंस ड्रॉप करता है. फॉर एग्जांपल लेट्स से हम एवरेजिंग हम कर रहे हैं 98, 99 एंड एज द D-Day अप्रोच दैट इज हम in the last month of our preparation we usually see a kind of a declining trend, or we say some notches we start performing at 96 or 95. This happens. Very good question. Any other question bachcho? Yes, one of the bachas is asked how stress affects the performance. Yes, stress does affect the performance. So even we are going to talk about this thing. Any other thing? So overall मैं क्या करने वाला हूँ इस सेशन में. I am going to talk about how to time your performance peaking at the right time, that is on the D-Day, your exam day, maybe GMAT or a CAT or whatever. Even I will introduce you to a concept called performance stress peaking curve. एक performance stress peaking curve को भी मैं बच्चों को introduce करूँगा. Any other question बच्चों, so that I can start the session? अच्छा, okay. अच्छा, beyond moving into the session, कुछ और चीज़ें भी मैं आपको बताना चाहता हूँ. Even in this session, I will be talking about some of the strategies which you can use to time your performance peak. Okay, so one of the strategies, इतने बच्चे हैं, इतने टेस्ट देते रहते हैं, तो I would like even बच्चों to tell me what kind of strategies they used. Before the students, let me put some strategies so that they can get in what exactly I'm talking about. The first thing which is very important, as we say ना, timetable होना चाहिए. तो एक periodization, एक performance plan होना चाहिए. I meant to say the first thing I'm going to talk about in the strategies which I will be talking right now is a periodization. आप एक अगर आपके पास 2 month हैं, 3 month हैं, तो how to make it, we call it periodization performance plan, which I would be discussing. The second thing I would be talking about is a tapering phase. There is a phase, we call it the last mile जिसे बोलते हैं, उसको बोलते हैं tapering phase. And how exactly you have to handle the tapering phase, the last phase of your preparation, so that your performance peaks at the right time on that D-Day. The third thing I'm going to talk about is a preparation schedule, a mechanism होता है. We usually introduce to our students, and even I would like you to even बच्चे जो सुन रहे हैं वो कर सकते हैं. We call it 2, 3, 5, 7 method. I'm repeating it, 2, 3, 5, 7 method. I'm going to introduce one of the how the preparation plan has to be made on this kind of a concept. We call it as 2, 3, 5, 7 concept. This is the third thing I will be talking about. The fourth thing I would be talking about is one of the Nobel laureate, one of the physicists, by the name Richard Feynman, introduced a technique by the name the Feynman Technique. What exactly that technique is, I'm going to introduce to all of you. थोड़ा सा brief में आपको बता देता हूँ. Feynman Technique is a technique to make every complex things into simpler parts, and after that you teach yourself, or you become a teacher and start teaching to the others. In that way you will understand what kind of gaps you will have. Basically, in a mota way, in a summarization way, it is more of a technique in which you teach the concept, or you tell the concept in a very simpler terms, and you get to know what kind of gaps in the learning you have. I'll introduce you to the technique, and then you'll understand more. One more technique I would be talking about today would be the interleaving technique. Interleaving technique का थोड़ा सा brief में दे रहा हूँ अभी. Usually हम जब plan करते हैं, हम क्या plan करते हैं कि 5 days हम maths पढ़ेंगे या algebra पढ़ेंगे. 5 days we'll be talking about, let's say, critical reasoning, anything like that. Even in a day, we usually plan to study only one subject, but in interleaving technique, we do different subjects in a day. and that works very well for the people who do very well in the test. Even I recall one of the point in the Feynman technique. Many of the times I'm talking to toppers, okay? Rather on a daily basis, I'm usually talking to the toppers and usually taking their maybe a kind of an interview session or kind of a session in which they are telling their preparation strategies and all. Many of the toppers used to talk about that they used to teach to the other people. So what the point they are making was, let's say they are in a discussion forum and any kid is asking about any doubt, they usually used to solve the doubts. And even many of the toppers used to talk about that they used to teach their group whatever they have made, and the topper used to take their doubts and solve it then and there. So this is one of the things which actually relates very well with the Feynman technique, which we would be talking about. Now one more, the last point, not the last point, or the second last point I would be talking about in the tapering phase, in the last phase, is how you have to adjust the time, intensity and the frequency so that you handle stress well. What are the variables I have talked about? Time, intensity and the frequency. That also will be relating. I will be talking about. Or last week, psychological points. I would be introducing many of the psychological points even. So kids, let's move something थोड़ा सा इसे हर पॉइंट को थोड़ा और एलाबरेट करते हैं, थोड़ा और बड़ा करके देखते हैं कि what exactly are these techniques. Now let me talk about the strategies, and before moving to the strategies, I want everyone in the class to be indulging into it. Okay, I want answers from you even, and whatever the strategies you used. Okay. एग्ज़ाम पहली बार तो दे नहीं रहे हैं, सभी देते रहते हैं, तो आई वुड लाइक एवरीवन टू टॉक अबाउट देयर स्ट्रैटेजीज इवन, एंड इवन आप भी कमेंट्स यूट्यूब पे डाल सकते हैं. द फर्स्ट एंड द वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट स्ट्रैटेजी आई विल टॉक अबाउट इज द पीरियडाइजेशन एंड टेपरिंग. पीरियडाइजेशन का मतलब होता है जब हम पूरे अपना प्रिपरेशन प्लान को कुछ भागों में बांटते हैं, या वी डिवाइड द होल प्रिपरेशन प्लान इनटू सम पार्ट्स, सम जोन्स एज वी कॉल, और सम फेसेस. PHASES, phases. Okay, so every plan should have three major parts. The one we can call it as a macro cycle, mesocycle and the microcycle. Macro means you must have a macro plan. अगर हमारा 3-4 months दूर है एग्ज़ाम, so we should have a monthly or a fortnightly plan ready कि after 15 days मैं यहाँ पहुँच जाऊँगा, after 15 दिन मैं यहाँ पहुँच जाऊँगा. That's called macro cycle. The second is a mesocycle. Mesocycle might be in every week plan. This week I would be reaching this number, this mark, this test, this marks, whatever. Then the last thing is a microcycle. Microcycle means daily plan. What exactly, how many hours, when to when I'm going to study, and what exactly I'm going to cover in that. So quality and quantity you're going to plan in the microcycle. Now the next strategy I'm going to talk about is a tapering phase. Whenever you are giving any test, performance, your pressure will affect the performance. Pressure is going to rise. So whenever you're in the tapering phase or the last phase, why I'm using the word tapering is your number of hours which you are devoting. Let's say the full year you have been devoting, let's say 5 hours or let's say 6 hours. In the tapering phase, keep on reducing your number of hours in a day. I meant to say reduce the hours, increase the intensity, keep the same frequency. Once I'm repeating it, number of hours को reduce करो, intensity को increase करो, और frequency same रखो. I meant to say if you are studying for let's say 2 hours, 2 in the morning, 2 in the afternoon, 2 in the evening, let's say I'm giving an example to you, then keep the same frequency 3 times. But start reducing your hours. If you have been studying for 2 hours, let's 6 hours, as a test you are reaching the D-Day, keep on reducing your time spent in studying. I meant to say अपने number of hours कम करते जाइए from 6 to 5, 5 to 4, 4 to 3 when you're reaching the test. It will help you in handling the pressure. So there's no need to repeat. Okay. The one more thing which I even in the last video I talked about was the spaced repetitions. So mind needs spaced repetition. So we usually tell our students to have a 2-3-5-7 plan. 2-3-5-7 plan. What is this third strategy which I'm talking about? 2-3-5-7 plan. Whenever you're reading a concept, understanding a new thing, let's say on day 0, on day number 2, day number 3, day number 5 and day number 7, yes, many of the students know it. हमारे बच्चों को पता है. Very good. So 2-3-5-7 plan is an active, a kind of a recall or a repetition plan when you are looking at any concept. Let's say you found out that you're weak in some concept. Let's say assumption based question in critical reasoning. Let's say you learned a new way. Okay, then revise it on the 2, 3, 5 and 7 day. It will help you a lot in not only understanding but even in the memory recall. Okay, so remember the 2-3-5-7 plan. The next plan I'm going to talk about is the interleaving plan. Let's say interleaving plan का basic मतलब ये है कि एक ही दिन में if 3 sections are coming, quant, verbal, DI, DL, LR, whatever it might be, data insights or anything, try to incorporate all the sections in one day. I meant to say, rather than spending the whole day in one subject or one section, try to put it in, divide the whole time. Every day you touch every section. That's called interleaving. Interleaving means basically what हम सब कैसे करते हैं, how we study. इस हफ्ते हमने maths complete करना है, इस week हमने RC करना है. So what exactly happens is, not only interleaving technique helps you in keeping an interest, but the most important part is actually different sections will need a different skills. So it's very good to practice your skill on a daily basis. If you're studying for 5 to 6 hours, 2 hours maths, 2 hours DI, DILR or whatever, 2 hours verbal. Interleaving technique से आपका performance would be much better, and you know in every IQ test, every section performance, you have to perform in every section. The next technique I'm going to talk about is the Feynman Technique. Feynman, correct. It is spelled as F-E-Y-N-M-A-N-N, but then also I'll call it Feynman Technique. Actually, one of the physicists and a Nobel Prize winner. But the name of Robert, I think. Robert Feynman. किसी बच्चे को याद है? Robert, I think. Robert Feynman introduced a technique in which he said, कोई भी चीज़ आप पढ़ रहे हैं, try to उसे छोटे छोटे भाग में, simpler भाग में divide it into simpler parts and try to teach yourself or anyone else. And even I think even starting the session I was talking about, many of the toppers, when you'll talk to them, they will say, "Ki we used to teach others. We used to teach others in the group, or even in the doubt sessions, they used to take many of the doubts." So what exactly they are doing is, in a mota way, I will say, try to teach that point to yourself or to anyone else. You will see the gaps in your understanding. I meant to say, just like I am talking, अगर मुझे clarity नहीं होगा ना, I will not be able to be fluent in it. So I'll understand what kind of a gap in understanding I have. Same thing I'm saying it to you. So teach it to yourself, maybe hypothetical teaching of yourself. You will understand what kind of a gap. That's called Feynman Technique. Try to use it. It will work very well. I'm just telling you, many of my students do that and the results show. अच्छा, छोटा मोटा और भी बात कर लेते हैं. Feynman टेक्निक का एक और छोटा सा एक पॉइंट बोलता हूँ. Albert Einstein used to say, if you can't explain a thing in a simpler terms, it means you haven't understood it all. अगर आप कोई बात को सिंपल फॉर्म में नहीं डाल पा रहे हैं तो इसका मतलब आप भी समझे नहीं हैं वो बात को. So the same thing is the same kind of a quote which I think Albert Einstein said. Same time thing I think Feynman also said. So Feynman technique, please study the Feynman technique, try to implement in your preparation. छोटा मोटा कुछ बच्चों से भी सुन लेते हैं. What are the things you use? अच्छा, one before moving to the बच्चas, like to talk about 3 very important aspects. That's one is a happiness. One thing is confidence and one thing is motivation. Let me talk about all the 3 things. First of all, let's take the confidence. Okay. Confidence बहुत बड़ा चीज़ है. I'll give an example to you. Most of the engineers, actually, what I've seen while teaching people, engineers को maths आता नहीं है इतना जितना वो समझते हैं कि उनको आता है. So this confidence actually works very well for them. So what exactly happens is एक non-engineer है और एक engineer है. There might be many cases I have seen where non-engineers have a better math skills than engineers. लेकिन the problem happens when non-engineers feel they don't know maths and engineer without knowing maths feel that they know maths. So this confidence actually works very well for them. तो उनको लगता है कि मुझे सब आता है या मैं तो मैथ्स में अच्छा करूँगा ही. And actually that's not the case. So what I'm saying is keeping a good confidence is very important even if you don't know it. I'm not saying don't know it, but just putting a situation forward to you. The next thing I want to talk about is the happiness and the motivation. I always feel people say मैं खुश हूँ, मैं आज दुखी हूँ, I'm happy today, I'm sad today. But what I always feel is happiness is not a natural instinct actually. I'll give rather मैं थोड़ा better phrasing करता हूँ. थोड़ा सा philosophical है लेकिन I would like to, when you're preparing, though I would like you to implement it. I always say happiness is a work. Okay. See, you how to say it? Let me put it in this way. See, your mind, you should be controlling your mind rather than the other way around. Mind shouldn't be controlling you. I meant to say, you should walk the dog shouldn't be walking you. अगर morning walk पे जाते हैं, आप सब कोई जाते होंगे, तो there are 2 kind of individuals. एक में the human is walking the dog, and in some cases dog is walking the man. When the dog is walking the man, what exactly happens is वो कभी नाली में उतर जाता है और कभी वो bushes में चला जाता है. So in that way, what exactly I'm trying to say is take dog as mind. I meant to say you start walking the mind rather than mind start walking you. So what I'm saying is rather than being happy, motivated, blah blah blah, you tell your brain when exactly you want to be happy, when exactly you want to be motivated. I meant to say control your mind, and happiness, try to take it as a work. And don't be so, I want to say don't let the mind walk you and you must reach a situation, आज मैं खुश हूँ, आज मुझे अच्छा नहीं लग रहा है, आज मेरा bad day है, आज I'm feeling negative, I'm feeling down. Don't feel like that. Walk the mind. Okay, mind को walk करो, mind को बताओ I want to be happy, I will be happy. So very important. Happiness and motivation are very very important thing for anything. Exam का तो छोड़ो, exam तो एक small part of your life है. आपका happiness impacts the whole life, every day, every second. अच्छा, कुछ बच्चे को भी बोलो. Very good. One of the students has talked about nutrition. Yes, good food, very important. Fatty food, lot of sugar. क्या होता है? You will feel sleepy. You will feel even down. So हम sugar, too much sugar. आजकल तो every food has lot of sugar, lot of fats. तो हम maybe मिठाई वाले नहीं बताते होंगे आपको, and मिठाई वालों को बताना भी नहीं चाहिए. all the foods right now have very high sugar and fat content to make it tasty, and that's what you like. Her food, every food which would be good in sugar and fats, we call it, उसे वो body को कैसे affect करता है, we call it rush and crash effect. Rush and crash effect क्या होता है कि you will have a rush, okay, and then a crash. Sugar always do that. High sugar will put a rush and a crash. So rush to everyone loves, no one likes crash. So try to avoid food which is high in sugar and fats. Nutrition is a very good thing. Anyone else? Yes, good sleep, mental freshness, optimal sleep. कितना sleep होना चाहिए optimal? 7 to 8 hours सोना ही है. Have your 8 hours sleep every day. Okay, अगर 8 नहीं होता है ना तो feel like कि you will feel lethargic. So ideally go for 7 to 8 hours sleep on a daily basis. Sleep is a superpower. Okay, sleep सबसे बड़ा power मुझे sleep ही लगता है. And rather any busy person will say that's the most basic luxury which that person would like to have. So sleep is a superpower. Remember it. 7 to 8 hours of sleep will make your brain magical the other day. You can do magic with your brain. What is the next thing? Anyone else? Yes, एक बच्चे ने बोला positive mind. Yes, positive mind. What does positive mind means? See, every person has a history. और उस history में something he has performed very well in many times and he has failed many times. Success भी हुआ है, failure भी हुआ है. Now one of the sociologists, one of the psychologists even, I don't recall the name, maybe Plato. I don't recall the name exactly, so I don't want to quote any names right now, but one of the sociologists or a psychologist used to say, if you want to feel good in your life, always remember your success stories from your past life. And if you want to feel bad, always remember the bad things or the failures you have during life. Every person will have success and failure in their life, past life. अगर आपको अच्छा फील करना है, start focusing on your success. अगर बुरा फील करना है, start focusing on your failures. And believe me, 90% of people they remember their failures much better than their success stories. So that's why I say happiness is a work. You have to tame your mind, push your mind to focus on the positive things which has happened in your life. Anything else? Wind up करें? Yes, mocks. Mocks अगर देना है, same time पे दो. If you are getting whenever you are going for that exam, whenever it is scheduled, try to start giving mocks at the same time. थोड़ा सा variation करो, intensity बढ़ाओ, number of questions, what you are doing, try to increase it, be experimental, try to see does it affect your accuracy a lot, or is your guessing work working or not. Guessing, I'm not calling it guessing, blindly guessing, educated guessing. Educated guessing, if you have 5 options out of 5 options, if you are reaching the last 2 options, you are able to, I would say, target the 2 basic answers, then a educated guess you must be doing. Try to see, does it affect your accuracy a lot? That's it, sir. Let me move out. Chalo, I'm moving out. Just a small thing. Mind is not a stone, okay? Mind is very fragile. So nurture karo, tame karo usse. And I see many of the students having that negative depression kind of issues, and that only happens when you allow your mind to, overpower you. So start, I would say, taming it, protecting it, and even nurturing it.